Good morning. My name is Sparrow Kennedy.
And I'm Karanja Gashusha. Welcome to the Occupy Live news program where we cover the activist perspective. Here are the stories for today. Julian Assange is a Swedish hacker and co-founder of the WikiLeaks website. He has been fighting extradition to Sweden for over a year, and until a few days ago, he had taken refuge in London. In a last-ditch effort to preserve his freedom, he has sought asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Narges Mobalegi from Press TV has spent the day at the embassy. Here's the report.
On Tuesday afternoon, Julian Assange walked into this building, the Ecuadorian embassy in London, seeking asylum under the UN Human Rights Declaration. It's a dramatic twist in his fight against extradition to Sweden. He's wanted there for alleged sex crimes. Assange denies the charges, saying they're politically motivated. He fears that from Sweden he'll be sent to America, where he could face charges that hold the death penalty.
Hillary Clinton visited Sweden 3 days after the Supreme Court decision. That was the first visit by a Secretary of State for something like 30 or 40 years. Why? American politicians have been calling for his assassination, for his imprisonment and for him to go on trial in America.
Assange lost his right to appeal last week, and extradition proceedings were to start on the 28th of June. It seems Assange thought the Ecuadorian embassy was his best and possibly last chance.
Despite all the pressure and Ecuador being a small country, it will have the courage to face all that needs to be faced. In this case of Julian Assange, I'm convinced that this will be a positive process. Now our country is free, and we have had 5 years of people's revolution, and that's why I think Assange has felt that openness. I think this is about defending a just cause, the life and freedom of a person that hasn't committed any crime, other than to inform us about the crimes committed by some governments.
The Ecuadorian embassy released a statement on their website Tuesday night. It said, while the department assesses Mr. Assange's application, he will remain at the embassy under the protection of the Ecuadorian government. Assange recently interviewed Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa on his TV show, in which Correa told Assange, "Welcome to the club of the persecuted." Assange supporters believe he is being persecuted because of what WikiLeaks exposed.
WikiLeaks basically opened up that box of information and spread it around all over the place. And the governments, all governments, the British government, the American government, are trying to put all that information back into its box. They don't want the public to know that we torture people in Afghanistan. They don't want to know that we kill innocent civilians with drone strikes. They don't want to know that we make dirty deals with the Saudis over arms deals and oil.
Assange has been on £240,000 bail since autumn 2010. His conditions include him surrendering his passport, wearing an electronic tag, reporting to police every evening, and he's not allowed to leave the house between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. By staying at the embassy overnight, Julian Assange has broken his bail conditions. He's in diplomatic territory, so beyond the reach of authorities for now. But police here are on standby as the latest twist to this tale plays out. And they say if Julian Assange does come out of these doors, they will arrest him. Narges Mobalegi, Press TV, London.
Julian is safe from deportation and detention as long as he remains inside the Ecuadorian embassy, which is considered Ecuadorian territory. In order to board a plane to leave the country, Julian Assange will have to travel to the airport. Technically, this action could end up with his arrest since he is only safe at the embassy. Another alternative would be for a helicopter to land on the roof of the embassy and fly him to his destination. However, this action will exacerbate the already tenuous diplomatic relationship between Ecuador and the USA.
Protesters lined the streets in front of Trinity Church in a show of solidarity for Mark Adams. Mark Adams was arrested after he followed Bishop Packard over the fence during a take-back of Duarte Square.
Assault that he was given that, and especially the fact that the judge added extra time beyond what the district attorney asked for. My feelings are a little bit different about all of this. I think occupiers got caught up in a fight between different parts of the Episcopal Church. So when the bishop apologized and said that his actions were his and his alone, and that if anybody else interpreted it differently, I kind of thought he should have said that when he was on top of the ladder, because I think many thought that his participation meant that it was sort of sanctioned by the Episcopal, by Trinity, and maybe they wouldn't press charges or, something. So.
The prosecution in Mark's case asked for 30 days. The judge gave him 45. The extra 15 days was because Mark allegedly was in possession of burglary tools, although no evidence of this was presented at trial.
Davis, we're outside Trinity Church, and we're protesting the unchristian-like behavior of Rector Cooper. I personally am going to stay here until both Mark is back and Cooper is gone.
An occupation at Trinity Church has officially begun and will continue until Trinity Church drops the charges or Mark is released. Some supporters are calling for an investigation into Trinity Church's claim of ownership to the land.
Trinity Church and Trinity Real Estate still gets to claim control of land given to them by a queen that we overthrew in 1886. I say, give the land back to the public, Trinity. Relinquish your control and give it back to who it belongs, the people.
If you would like to contact Mark Adams and send him support, he is located at Rikers in the Eric M. Taylor Center at 1010 Hazen Street, East Helmshurst, New York. His NSID number is 1170-6754-11, and his booking number is 349-1210446.
A lot of information there on Mark Adams, and it would it would be good to be able to provide that to the public in order that they can actually, it was a long number, but
the information for Mark Adams is actually going to be posted on the Facebook page, facebook.com/allstreets, ALLSTR33TS. For anyone that's interested, that contact information, that is where Mark Adams' contact information will be.
Yes, so that's actually useful. It's amazing that he was given 45 days when the prosecution didn't even ask for 45 days. So, I mean, it's incredible that, this church acting as some kind of Wall Street baron, really, essentially.
I think there's a little bit more to it than that, but yeah, I think the Occupy got involved in a battle that they didn't know they were fighting.
Absolutely. And on to the next story. Stop and frisk has been a hot button issue in New York for a while. Stop and frisk is a controversial NYPD program that allows officers to arbitrarily stop an individual and search them on the grounds that the person fits a broad, non-specific profile that can be individually tailored to suit the officer's needs. With an increasingly militarized police department, fear of community backlash as a result of the invasive policy has caused a rise in police on community violence. 18,000 people gathered on Sunday to speak out against the residual violence and distress police procedure. I think that might have been discussed police procedure. Anyway, I'll read it as it is. Violence and distress police procedure has wrought. About 50 activists gathered in Trinity Church on Monday to discuss outreach tactics to support 60 activists and community members who have been targeted by the NYPD for their organizing efforts with the Stop and Frisk campaign. Noche Diaz, a young activist from Harlem, is the latest activist facing jail time for his political work against the NYPD. His cases have been combined in an effort to railroad him into inactivity. He had this to say on the matter.
To consolidate these cases, I've been targeted around my home where I've been surrounded and jumped by undercovers who have made the point to me that you're being stopped and frisked and, remember that. And basically trying to send a message, that they know where I am and who I am and that they can get away with doing that.
Stop and frisk is not a law. It's NYPD policy instituted after the disbanding of the special police unit that slaughtered Amadou Diallo. Organizers are planning a phone drive and flaring campaign.
Both candidates in Egypt's presidential election are claiming victory. Egyptians cast their ballots in a two-day presidential runoff election on June 16th and 17th, which pitted the candidates of the Muslim Brotherhood for Freedom and Justice Party Mohamed Morsi against former Prime Minister Ahmed Shafik. The Egyptian Judges Association announced Morsi as the winner on Wednesday, claiming it obtained election results without interference from other candidates' campaigns. Press TV has conducted an interview with Zayed Alisa, Middle East expert and political commentator from London, to further discuss the issue.
Our top story this hour. Anger at the ruling military council is pouring into the streets of Egypt. Thousands gather in Cairo's Liberation Square for another show of people's power. Just over the weekend, the military council dissolved the parliament and claimed all legislative powers. It's also taken control of the state budget and given itself veto power on a new constitution, making the president almost powerless. The Muslim Brotherhood has called this a constitutional coup.
There is nothing in the constitutional referendum that refers to the right of any authority to dissolve another. This dissolution could have been referred back to the Egyptian people, the source of all powers, who have the true right to take this decision. The Egyptian people are upset with these decisions. National powers and political parties were not advised with the dissolution of parliament.
We say clearly the Egyptian people took to the streets to choose a president with full powers, and the next president of Egypt will be chosen according to the expectations of the Egyptian people. He will use all his power without relinquishing any of his responsibilities and powers.
Well, hundreds of demonstrators also gathered outside the parliament to oppose its dissolution. Several lawmakers were among them. The assembly is being heavily guarded by security forces and all roads leading to the building have been blocked. Well, the struggle for power in Egypt is getting even more complicated as both candidates in the weekend's election are claiming victory. The vote put the Muslim Brotherhood's candidate, Mohamed Morsi, up against Ahmed Shafik, the last prime minister of ousted dictator Hosni Mubarak. Official results are not expected until Thursday, but the campaigns of both men say they are sure their candidate has won more than half of the votes.
The approximate final percentage is 52% for Dr. Mohamed Morsi and 48% for the competing candidate.
We stress that the results of the elections confirm that Ahmed Shafik is in the lead with 51%.
Let's go straight to London now, where I'm joined by Zayed Alisa, Middle East expert and political commentator. Welcome to the programme, sir. Mr. Zayed Alisa, we have the military council dissolving the parliament, taking control of the state budget and given itself veto power on a new constitution. So, in the end of the day, what is left for the president then?
Well, absolutely nothing. I mean, that's the whole intention. The military council never intended to go down the democratic path. So what has happened over the last week proves beyond a shadow of doubt that what those people that what the majority of the revolutionaries actually suspected has materialized. The overarching goal of the military is actually to retain, consolidate, and also retain all power that it has, all the privileges. They want to keep them. And let's not forget that the military have been at the heart of politics. They have been at the center of politics. All previous presidents came from the military, and that's why we're seeing their wholehearted support and emphatic backing to Ahmed Shafiq, although according to the one of the rules that he actually belongs to the previous government. He was the last prime minister, and he's one of the henchmen of Mubarak. He's actually one of his right-hand man, and he shouldn't have actually been allowed to run. He should have been banned from running, but we can see clearly that those events, which mainly has been the dissolving of the parliament, although it has been elected freely and it represents the will of the people, and that's the main thing about democracy. The parliament has to be representative of the overwhelming will of the people. It's even though that the Constitutional Court has ruled that it's going to dissolve the parliament, I don't think that's legally within their right, although they can strike out 1/3 of the representatives, but it's only an elected president who has the right to actually dissolve the parliament. That's why they want to actually, before announcing a president, they want to empty that position and severely undermine and severely limit the authorities or the powers of any president. So basically, at the end of the day, the military will be as usual, business as usual, will be ultimately running the show, and it will be calling the shots with those decisions. I do believe that those decisions are completely counterproductive. The military has miscalculated, particularly by announcing the dissolution of the parliament before the presidential elections, 2 days before that, because that actually have spectacularly backfired by galvanizing more support for Mohammed Morsi, although the people were actually disillusioned and disappointed with the performance of the Muslim Brotherhood within the parliament, because they achieved very little during the period they actually were the dominant power in the parliament. But that act, which could not be explained other than basically resorting to the old tyrannical methods of the old regime by going ahead and dissolving the parliament, I do believe played into the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood. It actually restored their image of being targeted and being victimized, and that's why it galvanized more support for them. It bolstered their position, and also it played directly into the hands of the revolutionaries by proving beyond a shadow of doubt that if the military council is given an inch, it's going to take a mile in terms of enhancing, consolidating, and bolstering its position by retaining all sorts of power. I do believe that's why we see the people taken back to the streets, because that's the only means for them to exert leverage over the military council and to show beyond a shadow of doubt that they are the ones that must be given the powers, because the parliament was elected by them. They have taken to the street, defying the old regime, defying the military over and over again, and we can see a momentum building. We can see that the protests are gathering pace and gathering momentum, and we can see that there is a new spirit developing within the protesters, that we were the ones that ousted, the ones that toppled Mubarak.
Indeed, Mr. Issa, how far do you think the people will go to get their demands met, though?
I think mainly the protests are taking place today on top of demonstrating and protesting the decisions of the military to dissolve the parliament and to turn the presidency into something only symbolic, and to actually strip it off and rob it of all the authorities and power. They are trying to preempt and prevent the military from actually falsifying the results of the elections by declaring that somehow Ahmed Shafiq has actually managed to win the elections, and by doing that, then it will mean at the end of the day that the military have completely succeeded in robbing the people of their revolution, and we are back at square one. That means the old regime is there, it is intact.
All right, Mr. Zeid Al-Issa, all right. I'm sorry we have to leave it there, we're running out of time. Many thanks to Mr. Zeid Al-Issa, our Middle East expert and political commentator from London.
So fascinating video there about what's going on in Egypt. I mean, so, you know, we often talk about our movement being inspired by the Arab Spring, and it was fascinating to watch people in Tahrir Square and the toppling of Mubarak by essentially by people's action, and it was a very powerful moment. So it is amazing to see that, in fact, you know, from what's going on now, it seems like the military was in power the whole time, not really Mubarak. And so even with Mubarak being ill or clinically dead, as they claim, or whatever, and having been toppled by the people, the military still seems to be trying to seize power through essentially what they're calling a constitutional coup, which is what it looks like. You know,
I think the message here for activists everywhere, is that we're just getting started. The battle is not over. You know, the victory is not won. We've got a ways to go, and we have to keep going even when it looks like we may have won.
And that's exactly what happened in Egypt, and it's a lesson for us here, as you say, because, you know, apparently the powers that be are going to hold on to power in one form or another, as we see in Egypt. So, you know, and it's the same thing here, you know, and before we were willing to sort of settle for Democrats at one point, or some people view Republicans as the answer, and really, you know, this is a clear showing that the people in power, essentially, they're one and the same, and they're not going to let go easy. So
there you have it.
Alrighty, and on to the next story. Vandana Shiva, an author and environmental activist, gives her thoughts on the conference happening in Rio de Janeiro and other topics. Here's video of this occurrence.
Your thoughts? Well, you know, I knew it would be a Rio -20. I came with that preparation, so I'm not surprised that the outcome is a nothing. Given the crisis we are in, both the economic crisis as well as the ecological crisis, and to offer more of the same failing economy as the recipe to the ecological crisis is a double error. This whole green economy thing, interpreted as a planetary grab of the remaining resources, is not going to solve anything. What's wrong with GMOs and the Green Revolution was they make a false claim to increasing production. All they measure is a yield of a few commodities. That is not food production. We eat 8,500 species. A farm with 250 species run by women produces 2 to 10 times more food per acre. That's the kind of intensification we need. Ecological intensification, biodiversity intensification. GMOs are just an excuse to patent life and patent seed. I happened to have been invited to a meeting 87 where the companies laid it out. We have to do genetic engineering because without this we cannot claim to be creating novel organisms over which we can have ownership rights. And we've seen what this has done to my country. 250,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide directly linked to debt, most of the debt because of royalties paid for seed, which used to be free. It should be free, renewable, open source. And just like you have Microsoft patented software and you have open source software, we need open source seed for the bees, for the earthworms, for the peasant, and for every eater. Now the same companies that brought us the disaster of GMOs, and we've done a report called The GMO Emperor Has No Clothes, showing the claim of increasing yields, false. The claim of reducing chemical use, false. America has been overtaken by superweeds, which are resistant to Roundup, and they're now wanting to spray Agent Orange, which was sprayed on Vietnam. And we know the disasters Agent Orange left in Vietnam. Why would America do this to its own people, create a war at home? The claim that this is going to create more incomes for farmers. False. Our farmers are getting into debt. This industry is walking around, strutting around with a new convergence. The oil industry, big oil, big agribusiness, the Cargills, ADMs of the world, big biotech, the Monsantos of the world, which are the big chemical companies of the world, big energy. All of them are joined, and big software, IT. Why is Gates into GMOs? Why does he want to impose GMOs on Africa? Why, sadly, does President Obama have that process with his G8 declaration? The answer is very simple. There's a new convergence of technologies. And this new convergence is making these corporations say, if we own every blade of grass, every process of photosynthesis in every leaf of the planet, that's where we will make the money. They are seeing greed in the green economy, and that is why Rio Plus 20 hasn't addressed the crisis. It has deepened the crisis, and in every one of our countries, democratically, we will have to correct these errors. And the biggest correction is the corporate hijack of the planet's resources and our democracy. If that continues, there will be no freedom and no life.
So if they're not addressing the real issues, what do you think the real agenda behind this whole summit actually is?
Well, the real agenda should have been protection of the planet, should have been removing the desperate hunger, poverty, thirst that people face, 1 billion people hungry, 1 billion people without water. The real agenda is privatizing the planet. That's what they call the green economy. The green economy is own the planet, own the water, own the seed, own the land, grab the land, make money out of that. That is the next step of investment.
So for the elites, not for the regular people?
For the 1%, as the Occupy movement said it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, it would appear that in this instance, green is a euphemism for money and not a eco-friendly environment.
And the cynicism of using these terms to describe, these very positive terms that we relate to in a very positive way, to describe essentially what corporations, when corporations are doing the exact opposite of what they're claiming they're doing. And I absolutely love her, the phrase she used, the corporate hijack of the planet and its resources. And, we often talk about, in Occupy Wall Street in particular, we talk about Wall Street, but really she's putting all the companies together, all the big corporations out there, the food corporations, the so-called food providers. And, and it's chilling, really, what she's talking about, the corporations trying to own every single blade of grass and every single occurrence of photosynthesis on the planet. And, President Obama is behind the GMOs and these big companies and all the corporations, Microsoft even. And, it's kind of scary, really, listening to her.
Well, we're not trying to make any accusations here, but we're just saying claim responsibility for the things that you do. In other news, the Michigan legislator made headlines when they refused to hear testimony that contained the word vagina. Vagina is a medical term that describes the non-equivalent male counterpart, the penis. Women across America joined together in a show of solidarity that made vaginas the talk of town.
From what I know and of my opinion, I feel that I should be able to say vagina in any situation that it is applicable in, because vagina is not a bad word. That's a medical term for a part of my body, and I don't see why anybody should feel uncomfortable or upset by that or tell me that I shouldn't be able to say that word, especially when it's a...
Vagina is a medical term used to describe what is commonly viewed as the female counterpart of the male penis.
And
I'm here with a group of women in solidarity with the women in Michigan who are protesting the two female senators who were barred from speaking on the floor because they used the word vagina. Eve Ensler is on the steps of the Michigan House performing the vagina monologues, and we are here reading blog posts from women around the country who feel that it is time that we stop allowing men to control our vaginas and take back the control for ourselves.
Two snaps, sister.
Fascinating discussion there. Even the phrasing here about the the vagina being a medical term. I mean, it's.
You know what I think? I think people need to just grow up. People need to grow up. People need to call things what they are and accept things as they are and respect things for what they are. The bottom line is we're wasting time and we're wasting money. These people get paid to have discussions, and they're getting paid to have a discussion about excluding women. That's ridiculous. I'm not buying it.
Right, and these legislators in Michigan, and not just in Michigan, but across the country, in particular on the right, they are obsessed with the female anatomy and specifically the vagina because they are obsessed with regulating what women can do.
Sexualization of culture.
And
yes.
And their ovaries as well. And vagina is a term describing a body part. It's an English word. It's no different than describing my hand or my arm or penis. And it's ridiculous that even looking at this, the way it's written, that somehow in the culture that we live in, that somehow penis seems to be a more acceptable term, and I'm pretty sure if these women were discussing the penis, although being that it was women doing it, they probably would have still censured them regardless, because we still live in this very sexist patriarchy. But it's just a ridiculous discussion, really, that was wrought by the Michigan legislature, while when there are actually important questions being brought on the floor that need to address the economy, but they're just obsessed with the female anatomy. And we could go on and on clearly about this topic, so we'll move on to the next story, which is about the Quebec student riot. Sorry, I take that back, the Quebec student protest. And there were a lot of red squares. video there of the solidarity marches with the Quebec students. The solidarity marches start in Washington Square Park at 6 p.m. on every Wednesday. Entire universities have been shut down, semesters shortened, and classes canceled as the students in Canada protest a 25% tuition increase.
Officer Diamo is having difficulty accepting the medicine he regularly dishes out to protesters. Known for leaping over barricades and tackling protesters, he was caught on tape admitting he tried to make a summons he received disappear. Diamo is not worried about the impending NYPD internal affairs investigation against him. The threat of a 10-day suspension is not a danger to his career or his livelihood. Well, that's lucky for him.
I know, right? Good. Must be nice for some.
If I tackled a police officer, they'd put me in jail.
Right.
Today. They'd come find me.
As apparently they did with Mark Adams and many of our fellow protesters.
Oh my God, I feel so bad about Mark. You know what? I have his hat.
Good for you.
I do. I have his hat.
But it's obviously it's a serious issue, and clearly showing, the NYPD clearly believe they're above the law, and they do behave as though they're above the law. I mean, we saw images there of him jumping over barricades and, reaching to protesters, beating protesters, punching protesters. And,
you saw that?
Well, I mean, not here, but I've seen video of him.
Oh, yeah,
and we've seen plenty of video of cops punching protesters and all sorts of things.
Well, I think it's a bigger issue of culture. I think that there's a culture of violence that is being perpetuated upon the people of New York, the people of the United States, and the people of the world. And that's why we're having this global struggle right now.
Right. Absolutely. And on to the next story. Troy in Michigan couldn't afford to sustain its library, so it scheduled a vote for a tax increase. Posing as a political group, a strong anti-tax group waged a dominating campaign against the library closure. The campaign became international news as outcry over the idea of burning the library's books drowned out the opposition and galvanized support for the library, which won by a landslide.
There once was a library, a beautiful, busy, award-winning library. Unfortunately, times were hard. The city of Troy, Michigan no longer had enough money for its library, so it scheduled a vote asking the townspeople to approve a small tax increase. This angered an anti-tax group known as the Tea Party. Well-organized and well-funded, they started posting Vote No signs, mailing flyers, and making noise. They dominated the conversation, changing the topic from library, books, and reading to taxes, taxes, taxes. With no money and an election less than a month away, the library needed help. They needed something attention-getting, audacious, maybe even vile. So we decided to form a group of our own and started planting signs around town that said, "Vote to close the library August 2nd, book burning party August 5th. The idea of book burning is bad enough, but gleefully making it a party, well, that angered people enough to send them to our Facebook page.
You people are sick. This is disgusting. Reject the wackos. Vote yes.
But we didn't stop there. We created videos.
Imagine this times 200,000. How cool is that?
Posted on Twitter.
The Troy Library might be short on money, but it has books to burn.
Created items for sale.
A book bag. How ironic.
We placed newspaper ads, created check-ins, posted flyers, and lined up entertainment.
You guys are booking a band?
People became enraged.
Why would you burn books, idiots?
This is horrible.
Cheap imbeciles.
What the f is this world coming to?
We should burn your signs instead.
Complete and total
this
idiots.
is really just pathetic.
Jerks.
They posted their own links, shared with friends, debated the merits of libraries and the audacity of burning books. The conversation spread from Facebook to city council meetings, from newspapers to TV. It grew from local to national, even international news. Once it reached a fevered pitch, we revealed the true intent of our campaign. A vote against the library is like a vote to burn books. And people started posting, tweeting, and reporting all over again. In the end, we had changed the conversation completely, from taxes, 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 to library, library, library. And on August 2nd, the yes voters, voters who don't normally turn out to vote, turned out at levels 342% greater than projected. And the library won by a landslide. The town's library, its beautiful, award-winning library, had been saved. Not every story at the library has a happy ending. Fortunately, this one did.
Oh my goodness. This is a campaign that we can all learn from. The campaign to save the library essentially using the Tea Party's own tactics against them to actually change the conversation. And the right has traditionally been really successful at this sort of thing, but seeing the campaign to save the library actually, using messaging jujitsu to move the conversation away from taxes, because that is always a conversation in this country. Whenever anything is being discussed, it's always, the right, the Tea Party and their ilk, and the Koch brothers and ALEC and all those organizations always come in saying, oh, they're gonna raise your taxes, they're gonna raise your taxes. And the tax man is this hated boogeyman that it always succeeds in making people vote against their own interests even. People are willing to vote against health care because they fear that the tax bogeyman is coming to take away all their taxes that sometimes they're not even earning, like at a time like now when there's such high unemployment. But
when we hear the word taxes, be very, very wary, because there's probably a hunk in the line in that sinker somewhere.
Absolutely, and so this I love this campaign. I have to find out more about it because it's just amazing how that is messaging jiu-jitsu right there, and there is much we could learn from it right here at Occupy and Decolonize, which is the group I'm part of, and much that people who are proponents of raising taxes on the super rich, on the 1%. And
you need a strong social media team and somebody who's good at graphic design, and you can just make it happen.
Apparently.
Exactly.
And on to the next story. Do Occupy is a musical action intended to support, unite, and inspire socio-economic causes of the 99% through the uplifting power of music. Anyone can do it, anywhere, anytime. You cannot arrest the movement that music stirs in your heart. So you may as well sing and dance along. Here's video.
Feel free to sing along. You'll recognize the tunes.
Changing up your game. We are the 99, changing up your game.
And you should know.
Occupies here to stay, won't back away. Occupies here to stay, ain't gonna back away. Every day we will stand strong for peace in all the land. No more armor, come along, walk with us hand in hand. No more war cries that here now. We are the 99, and our time is here and now. Can't you hear us singing? We're coming home. Today is the day. Coming home to free the land that we love so dear. Occupy till it's day, ain't gonna back away. Occupy till it's day, ain't gonna back away. We are the 99, changing up your game. We are the 99, changing up your game.
Occupy TV Brooklyn is having weekly meetings at St. Joseph College, St. Angela's Hall, Communication Annex 257, Waverly between DeKalb and Willoughby Avenues. The People's Summit will be held at Times Square beginning tomorrow at 9 p.m.
And I believe that that is a 3-day event, going on for 3 days. The United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, I'm sorry, could we go back to that announcement, please? So the People's Summit, Peace Summit, will be held at Times Square and 43rd Street beginning tomorrow at 9 p.m. and will continue for 3 days. The days of the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. Spread the word. And you're next?
You can take that one too. Go ahead.
The South Asia Solidarity Initiative is co-sponsoring an event on June 23rd, 2012 at 8 p.m. The event is called Plays for the People, an evening with Arjun Ghosh, and will be held at the Breck Forum on 451 West Street between Bank and Bethune Street. Jana Natia Manch, a Delhi-based radical theater group active since 1973, will be showcasing their art as well.
And at 1 p.m. today on 44th and Madison Avenue, there will be a National Day of Action for the Cruz family. The Cruz family had their house foreclosed on in error by PNC Bank. PNC Bank has admitted the error, but is refusing to end the foreclosure.
The OQ documentary, American Autumn, is set to premiere at 7 p.m. on June 26th at the Indie Screen, located at 289 Kent Avenue in Brooklyn. Admission is free and will include a live performance by comedian Lee Camp and live music by Goldie Shack Gorillas after the movie. The first 50 people through the door get a free copy of the American Autumn DVD and Lee Camp's new comedy CD. Pepper Spray the Tears Away. Sorry, that's the name of the CD, Pepper Spray the Tears Away. For information about the film, you can visit them on Facebook, and that's facebook.com/American Autumn 2011.
Saturday, June 23rd at 6 p.m., family members and activists speak out in the fight against police violence. The Speak Out will be held at the Riverside Church, room 49B, located at 490 Riverside Drive, New York. The event is being endorsed by the American Friends Service Committee, Campaign to End the New Jim Crow, Correctional Association of New York, DeColo, New York, Families Against Stop and Frisk, Free Mumia Coalition, NYC International Socialist Organization, Haymarket Books, Mission and Social Justice of the Riverside Church, Mothers Resist Racial Policing, Stop, Stop and Frisk, and Vocal New York.
And a correction there. That is Decolonize is a group I'm part of. So I just want to shout out to Decolonize.
Why did they just say Decolonize instead of Decolo NYC?
Because it's based in NYC. On to the next announcement. Which is the 7th announcement, Monday, June 25th, 2012 at 2 p.m., the CUNY Board of Trustees will be holding a meeting to vote on a raise in the salaries of their top administrators. Students United for Change is calling for a demonstration at Madison Square Park on 23rd Street and Madison Avenue. Take the train 6 or the NR to 23rd Street.
Revolution Books, located at 146 West 25th Street between 6th and 7th Avenues, is holding a book reading of 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is a portrayal of a woman who learns to love being in a sadomasochistic relationship.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, maybe we should go.
I'll let you report back. You go and let us know how it was. And the next announcement, the Occupy Live News team is still seeking people to join us in our quest to preserve the activist perspective in the media. If you would like to join our team, please contact us at owslivenews@gmail.com.
Also, we're looking for guests that actually show up. So, if you have a skill, if you have a message, if you have an idea, if you have a concept, if you have a voice, and you would like to spread your truth, please come visit us. And also, you can check us out on Facebook at Occupy Public Assets NYC and on the web at occupystudio.org.
Thank you for watching. And we
have 5 minutes left, so we're going to have a discussion about
some of the events that some of the videos that we've been seeing and some of the stuff that we've been talking about today.
I'm really, really, really interested in Do Occupy. I think that music is a wonderful way to convey messages and ideas to the greater community. And I'm really excited about the Occupy the Subways project that's been going on. The Occupy the Subways project was started as a result of the 3 individuals who were arrested for terrorism during the Chicago G8 protests. This action was started as a result of their incarceration, and what people who are participating in the Occupy the Subway project are doing, what they're doing is they're raising money, and the money that they raise, they're sending it towards paying their bill. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
And you know, and the story, the underlying story behind that, it is truly amazing that just in January we were protesting Obama's signing of the NDAA bill, and people were prophesizing that you know, we were fearful that terrorist laws, terror laws that were so-called terror laws to protect us against terrorism might be used against protesters in the near future. Who knew? You know, it would just be a matter of months before it started actually being applied right here in this country against us, people who are fighting to improve our so-called democracy.
Right, and it's happened to Mark, it happened to Lady, it happened to Finn, and it happened to a great many other occupiers who have been by our side and supporting our community since the very beginning. And if you're interested in seeing more and hearing more about these stories, you can check out facebook.com/allstreets, ALLSTR33TS. And also you can check us out on Facebook /Occupy Public Access NYC. and on the web at occupystudio.org.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a goodbye.
Peace.
We are the 99%.